Craig Stammen was on my radio program probably a half dozen times. Great guy, great human being, great teammate, a pro's pro. But I had a million people last week when it was announced, what is on Thursday? I can't begin to tell you how many people called, text messages. I mean, the text messages would not quit coming. Coach, what do you think about this? What do I think about it? I don't know if he can manage. You don't know if he can manage. Hell, Craig Stammen doesn't know if he can manage right now. We're going to have to find out. Only thing I know, he's a guy that played for 13 years in the big leagues. He's been in good clubhouses, mediocre clubhouses, and probably bad clubhouses. He knows the way it's supposed to work. And hey, you know what? He's a smart guy. He's a great guy. I think all of us guys that know him, and I think people that know him around baseball are going, wow, Craig's going to manage. But man, we want to see him be successful. This guy here, for me, is an easy guy to pull for. Okay. I don't know how good the Padres are going to be. They got a lot of work to do. You got to figure out a first baseman. You got to figure out your starting rotation. But I know what? You win with good people. And Craig Stammen's good people. And he's going to be an easy guy to root for. But, I read all the message boards last week. And I understand it. We thought maybe Albert Pujols, maybe our buddy Nick Hundley. Nick's a personal friend of mine. Love Nick Hundley. Didn't know he wanted to manage. Lives here in San Diego, working for the Texas Rangers. Good baseball man. Of course, I got to be honest with you. Having caught a lot in my amateur days, and having coached, and I can tell you, having been a catcher for 11 years, and from little league through junior college, I got to tell you, I'm all about the catchers being managers because the game's always in front of you. I've never been a guy that was huge on hiring pitchers as managers. But hey, Craig Stammen's a smart guy, kind of like Buddy Black in that area. And I'm not saying that he's going to be to the level of Buddy Black managing, but Buddy's a smart guy, really smart guy. And Craig Stammen's a really, really smart guy and a good guy like Buddy is. And we'll see where it goes. But, it could have been Nick Hundley, Pujols. We heard they interviewed Brandon Hyde, the former Baltimore Oriole manager. Pujols, from what I heard, okay, and this is all hearsay, and I don't want to make it a big deal here. I think Albert Pujols will eventually get a job, probably in St. Louis. They like Ollie Marmol, and of course they like Yadier Molina as well. But I think Pujols eventually will get a managerial job. Maybe he'll have to be a hitting coach. Maybe he doesn't want to do that. He represents the Dominican Republic and manages that ball club. Did a great job, no question about it. Managed Winter League as well. But Pujols, from what I heard, I don't think it was about money. I really don't think it was about money. I think it was about more control. He wanted to bring in his pitching coach. He wanted to bring in his hitting coach. Totally get that. I totally respect that because that's the way I was. When I took coaching jobs, I needed my own people. I didn't want somebody else's person on that staff. I wanted to hire who it was, whether pitching coach, hitting coach, whatever. It had to be my guy, or I wasn't going to take the job. And I totally get that. If that was the breaking point, that I totally get that. But Craig Stammen, what was interesting, and I got nothing bad to say about Craig Stammen. Time will tell if he can manage or not. He doesn't even know, like I said. But the thing that's really kind of funny on this whole thing is he was on the interview committee. He was interviewing these guys. And all of a sudden, Craig Stammen's the manager. It's like one night, Tim Neverett, who does the Dodger games, I went to a game back in, I think it was 2008. Yeah, in fact, it was 2008. I was doing USD basketball. And they'd won the West Coast Conference Championship. And Joe Totino and I went to Las Vegas for a Manny Pacquiao fight against Juan Manuel Marquez. I thought Marquez won the fight. They gave it to Pacquiao. But anyways, we did a show on Friday, and I wanted to go to the Mountain West Conference basketball tournament. I went to the game, and I got pulled out of the stands by Tim Neverett to do the second game. I was wearing a pair of shorts and a pullover. And it's kind of like I went to the game as a fan and I became the broadcaster. I ended up doing the Utah game against UNLV, and I'm interviewing Lon Kruger after the game. It was the funniest thing. I mean, I told Tim, "You can't believe it. You're going to pull me out of the stands to broadcast this game?" Yeah, he goes, "I need you." So I ended up doing a game, but it's kind of like this. Craig Stammen shows up to interview the candidates, and all of a sudden he becomes a candidate, which is kind of interesting. I have no idea who else they interviewed. I know Brian Esposito, Mark Lorette. I heard their names were mentioned. But Craig Stammen's going to be our manager. Let's pull the rope in the right direction. Let's don't bitch, moan, and complain. This guy's been a good teammate, been a good member of the organization, and that's who they've deemed to be the next skipper of this ball club. And let's go for it. And let's see what happens. I wish Craig the best of luck. Again, I mentioned he came on my program about 6 times. And he was always so gracious with his time and just a great wife. I think he's got 4 kids now, and wish him the very, very best. And we'll see where it goes.